Goodness gracious. The reason why Han was looked down upon by the beautiful girl, after showing her true strength, she got slapped in the face. It turns out Han initially suffered from a burst of malevolent energy. She sealed the malevolent energy with honey trees, causing her cultivation to plummet. Later, she disguised herself as a Chep practitioner. She encountered the girl in front of her, the beautiful girl who saved Han back then. Cao Mengrong really is so shy. What is your cultivation level? Really? Cao Mengrong. She also snapped out of her joy upon seeing Han. After carefully sizing up Han, she couldn't sense any fluctuation of magical power. A look of confusion appeared on her face. Han had encountered a mishap that day. He was heavily injured, and his cultivation had drastically fallen. Now, he has slightly recovered. He didn't mean to deceive Taoist Cao. Han smiled gently. He calmly replied, but he didn't intend to reveal the true level of his cultivation. Miss Wang blinked her beautiful eyes. She examined Han closely again. Yet, she still couldn't sense anything from Han. Surprised in her heart, she couldn't help but smile sweetly. So, it seems Taoist Han is truly a senior. It seems that Han Daoyu is truly a senior. The junior sister was interacting with her seniors that day. The senior won't hold it against me, right? What does it matter if they're seniors or not? I'm just a casual practitioner from the Great Jin. I don't really care about that. Just continue to get along with your peers. Han shook her head dismissively and said. Cao Mengrong listened to these words. Her previously fluctuating expression finally returned to normal. Her cheeks flushed as she silently accepted Han sharp words. So, it turns out Mr. Han is truly a powerful senior. Although the esteemed Wang is just a mortal, he enjoys associating with someone like me, who is stuck in the past. It seems Mr. Guan is also heading to the capital. How about we travel together? The middle-aged man beside them, with a beloved daughter, after speaking with Han, calmly extended an invitation to travel together. Alright, then I'll take up your offer. Han thought for a moment and readily agreed. He just wanted to find someone familiar with the capital, to get a good understanding of the auction situation. With this person's prominent status, even if they aren't a cultivator, they should know quite a bit of details. So next, Han chatted briefly with the two women. Han had a brief chat with the two women, and learned about Cao Mengrong's father over the past few years. His career in the officialdom has been smooth. He was promoted from a minor position to the capital. He took on the role of a fifth-ranking official, although his rank hasn't really changed much. Being transferred from a local position to the capital is certainly a significant promotion. However, when Cao entered the capital that day, Cao Mengrong was in seclusion training. At the crucial moment, she didn't enter the capital with her father. This time, senior sister Wang and her father passed by his residence. Cao Mengrong happened to come out of her seclusion. Naturally, she entered the capital with her senior sister. Han shared a few words about his experiences over the years. He only mentioned that he had been hiding out somewhere to recover from injuries. He had just recently come out of seclusion. There really wasn't much to say about it. Cao Mengrong and the other woman didn't seem to suspect anything and didn't ask further. After all, anyone could tell that Han's condition, when he emerged from the ice, showed that he had suffered a significant loss of vitality. It was definitely not something that could be restored in just a few years. At this moment, a special attendant below brought up a pot of good tea. Han and the woman named Liang chatted a bit about the wine. They leisurely began to savor it, tasting it leisurely. After finishing the tea, the middle-aged man finally spoke up, unexpectedly with Han talked about some ancient books collected in the mansion. The incomplete texts completely hide the true identity of the deceased, who was a fierce warrior, but was mistaken for a poor scholar, which is quite possible. However, this general stationed in the south always speaks elegantly, with a smile, and truly has an extraordinary demeanor. Han couldn't help but have a much better impression of him, and felt a bit of fondness for him. Moreover, although he wasn't interested in poetry or books, in the past, he had searched for some ancient recipes and martial arts techniques, and had read countless ancient texts, knowing quite a few secret inscriptions and hidden chambers. Just casually mentioning a few things made this general stationed in the south very curious, and he kept asking questions that piqued his interest. As a result, after just a few exchanges, Han and the middle-aged man were chatting happily, leaving the two women somewhat neglected. Miss Wang turned to Cao Mengrong and gave a wry smile. Feeling a bit frustrated, her father was great in every way, except that he loved collecting ancient books and antiques, and was particularly interested in various rumors and hidden chambers from the wild ancient times. Now this senior Han. It seems she knows quite a bit about this. Once the conversation turns to words and such, I feel a strong sense of connection. However, Cao Mengrong doesn't have much to say. She just quietly sits by, listening to the two of them talk. Her gaze occasionally sweeps over Han Li's face, only to quickly look away again. There's a hint of avoidance in her demeanor. Miss Wang and Cubo notice this scene, and can't help but find it amusing. Through their heartfelt conversations along the way, he has a vague understanding that this little junior sister has a thread of affection, seemingly tied to the person in front of her. Usually, when she talks about this person, she has a look of longing, unable to forget. This has led Miss Wang to believe that this Taoist friend Han must be incredibly handsome and charming, which is why she shows such deep affection towards her fellow junior brother, Jin Yongqin, who is usually met with indifference. But seeing Han Li today, Miss Wang can't help but shake her head. The person in front of her, named Han Li, really has nothing to do with being handsome or charming. One could only say he looks quite ordinary, and moreover, he is most likely at the stage of foundation building, which is far from what little junior sister thinks. The low-level modifications that seem almost impossible to achieve are quite different. She's really not a good match for the junior sister. Miss Wang was quietly pondering this. At the same time, she was considering whether to do the unfortunate thing of breaking up a couple. In his eyes, although Han Li's cultivation was slightly higher than his, as the daughter of the general stationed in the south, it wouldn't be too difficult to make her back down. If all else fails, he could ask the two wives in the residence to step in, and the other party would have to leave obediently. So that's how it is. Back then, during the great upheaval of heaven and earth, it was actually due to the instability of the spatial rift that allowed the demons from another realm to invade the human world. This is the first time I've heard such a claim from Wang. The two celestial masters in the residence have never mentioned this to me. It seems that Han Xiu really knows everything, and has opened my eyes. However, there is still one thing I don't understand and would like to ask about. In ancient legends, there is a celestial mountain called Kunwu, said to be the dwelling place of true immortals. It seems that this general stationed in the south, after clarifying one matter, still had more questions to ask. Just then, Han Li, sitting across from him. Suddenly, sitting across from her was Han Li. Suddenly, from within her, a clear sound like a dragon's roar echoed. Although the sound wasn't loud, everyone present heard it clearly. They couldn't help but look at Han Li with astonishment. Han Li's expression changed drastically. A flash of light appeared around her, and she suddenly vanished from her chair. The two women were startled. They quickly raised their hands and looked around. Only then did they notice Han Li had mysteriously appeared outside the tea pavilion, raising her hand to look at the sky. At the same time, her face showed a hint of seriousness. What happened, Taoist Han? Is there a treasure within you? Are you at the 7th stage of Jiden? Miss Wang asked with difficulty, her face showing signs of shock. Beside her, Cao Mengrong tightly clutched a handkerchief with both hands, her face slightly pale as she looked at Han Li, speechless. Unfortunately, the escape speed was too fast, making it impossible to catch up. As for the sound just now, it indeed came from a secret within her body, splashing out and causing a stir. I hope General Wang and the two Taoists forgive me for the disturbance. However, with this, I'm afraid I won't be able to travel with you all. I have urgent matters to attend to, so I must take my leave. Han Li's expression quickly calmed down. She immediately turned to the middle-aged man and the two women, cupping her fists. Apologetically, she said, without waiting for anyone to respond. The old man suddenly took a step back, transforming into a streak of light. He shot through the sky. This scene was just caught by a few nearby vendors who had just come out from another tea shop. In a panic, these people immediately knelt down and bowed. At the same time, they shouted loudly, "A celestial master! A celestial master just flew away." They had just left that place. The nearby tea shop was in an uproar. Everyone rushed out of the tea shop. After a meal, Han Li's figure appeared on a low hill. She gazed far ahead, spotting the enormous city gate hidden in view, and the bustling traffic of carriages in front of the gate. Her expression was as dark as water. Well, since I know this demon is in the Great Realm, it can be considered an unexpected gain. You always have a chance to reclaim the flying sword, but now is not the best time. Your cultivation hasn't fully recovered yet, and you haven't refined the 3-leaf in either. Even though this demon was severely injured before, with its domineering magic power of devouring pills, it seems like the replies are mostly in now. Now, let's confront him. Your chances of winning aren't very high either. In the realm of Hanli, the great eye god calmly transmitted a message. What the senior said is true. Right now, I'm just on the edge of a needle. The chance of being able to retrieve it is only about 10 to 20%. This eardrum is indeed quite powerful. Earlier, I just wanted to retrieve the flying sword to use. Da Jing is a bit anxious witnessing this. It seems we can only wait until your puppet and that fan are refined. After that, we can look for this demonic ritual. However, this demon seems to have a key on him. He entered the realm so quickly, he hasn't even discovered our existence yet. But he clearly has 2 mouths. He still can't eliminate the wind and cloud sword. He can't subdue it. Yet he can't bear to discard it either. Using 10,000-year-old golden thunder bamboo as the main material, and mixing in these 2 rare materials, gold and steel. These 2 flying swords are indeed extraordinary treasures. Moreover, to destroy this ring, only a large amount of vital energy can do it. Using demonic fire to refine it bit by bit. This demon, it has been gradually refined by the demon fire. This demon, I would never do something so thankless, Hanli said with a cold smile. That's true, but speaking of which, with your dozens of flying swords, if you could really train with them for 400 or 500 years, and then use them to demonstrate their power, it might be terrifying, perhaps even surpassing spiritual treasures. The great eye god sighed, somewhat awkwardly saying, back in the day when this person was at their peak, they never dreamed of using such rare materials to forge a personal magic treasure. Well, maybe, but I can't possibly spend most of my lifespan just to train a magic treasure. Hanli chuckled bitterly and said, "Ha ha, you're much more sensible than I was. If I had your caution back in the day, I would have entered the transformation stage long ago. This demon will probably show up in the capital now, and there's a good chance they'll attend the auction. Han, you need to be extra careful. Don't let this demon recognize you." "Thank you for your concern, Senior. I'll be careful." I originally wanted to rely on the military office in the southern border to gather details about the auction, but it seems I'll have to investigate on my own. If I remember correctly, there seems to be a restaurant in Beijing as well that belongs to the Feng family. Let's go check it out first. To avoid attracting attention from newcomers at the inn, Hanli murmured a few words softly, adjusted her clothes, and confidently walked down the mountain, heading straight for the massive city gate in the distance. Although entering the capital is often boasted about by mortals and some low-level cultivators as being magnificent and spectacular, as if it's unparalleled in the world, in Hanli's eyes, this place is still lacking compared to the first major city she had built in her previous life. But entering the capital has its own unique features. Not to mention, aside from the outer city wall, there are actually 6 more massive walls built every mile from the outside in, each one towering 5 or 6 zhang higher than the previous. The last layer is the tallest and most imposing, reaching over 40 zhang in height. Built solely by the strength of mortals, it truly is an incredible miracle. However, besides the many walls, the city is also divided into 13 districts, with the imperial city in the far north covering dozens of miles. However, besides the city walls in the capital, the city is divided into 13 large districts. The imperial city in the north covers dozens of miles. The other districts aren't that small either. They also have a massive area. However, compared to the new city, the streets and houses leading into the capital are densely packed, as numerous as cow hair. Hanli passed through the second district from the city gate, and by the time he reached a spot inside the city, it had already taken him a good half a day. This made him frown, as he wasn't used to this pace for a long time. Now, Hanli looked at the 2-story restaurant in front of him, and calmly moved his hands behind his back. He just walked inside. At this moment, the restaurant was doing quite well, with most of the tables filled with guests. After a casual glance around, Hanli headed straight for the counter. The middle-aged man, who looked like the owner, was standing there. When Hanli approached, he didn't waste any words. He swayed his body slightly, blocking most of the other people's gazes. A jade pendant silently appeared on the counter. The pendant was facing up, clearly showing the characters for Ning Zhongfeng. The shopkeeper's expression changed slightly as he glanced at Hanli. He seemed to have some ability. He calmly picked up the jade pendant and examined it closely. After a moment, this person suddenly tucked the jade pendant away. In a lowered voice, he said, "Follow me." The shopkeeper turned around, taking advantage of the other guests' inattention. He quickly left through a side door on the first floor of the tavern. Han Li followed him inside. It turns out the eldest son has arrived. Feng Quan, pay my respects to the young master. The shopkeeper led Han Li into a secluded room. He immediately returned the jade pendant to Han Li with both hands, and respectfully said, "It seems this gentleman also regards him as the unique holy king. Find me a place to stay where I won't be disturbed. It can't be in the tavern, preferably somewhere nearby with no one else around. As for my presence here, only you need to know. Don't let a second person in the tavern find out." He coldly instructed, "Yes, I'll arrange a place for you right away. You can rest here for a bit, young master. Just half a day's time will do," the shopkeeper said without hesitation, seemingly quite capable. "Go quickly and come back fast." Han Li nodded. "Hurry up and come back quickly." Han Li nodded. Han Li nodded slightly, satisfied. He instructed. Then, the shopkeeper Feng stepped out of the room. Carefully, he closed the door behind him. He hurriedly left. Han Li casually pulled out a chair and sat down. She closed her eyes to rest in the room. Time passed, though she didn't know how long. Han Li opened her eyes, her expression shifting. Outside, footsteps sounded again. After a moment, the enthusiastic shopkeeper Feng walked back in. "Young master, I've found a place. The owner of the residence is an old acquaintance of mine. His whole family has moved away. That's why the house has been empty. They won't be back for at least a year or two. I've rearranged it a bit. You can move in right away." Well done. Lead the way, please." Han Li praised. "Thank you for your kind words. Young master, please follow me." Shopkeeper Feng took a few steps ahead. Han Li followed him out of the room. They exited through the back door to the 9th floor. A fairly new two-wheeled cart was waiting at the entrance. An elderly man, slightly plump, was sitting at the driver's seat. "You're quite thoughtful, even preparing the vehicle. But didn't I say before, not to talk about me with others in the tavern? What's going on with this person?" I took a glance at the carriage. Han Li carefully looked again at the old coachman with white hair. His eyes squinted slightly. "Reporting to you, young master, this Mr. Wu is a sharp and attentive person. He can't hear any voices at all. He certainly won't say anything reckless, and that residence is a bit far from here." Manager Feng, who had to take a carriage, respectfully replied, "Well then, let's do it this way." Han Li furrowed his brows slightly. After pondering for a moment, he still got into the carriage. Manager Feng also got into the vehicle. Immediately, the old man, without waiting for the two to give orders, drove the carriage on his own. The carriage moved forward slowly. Han Li sat cross-legged in the carriage, expressionless, and closed his eyes again. Manager Feng stood quietly at the edge of the carriage, hands down, not speaking. The carriage wasn't moving fast. After passing through several streets, the direction suddenly changed. Heading towards another area, after a town, the car came to a stop in front of a secluded courtyard. There really aren't any other houses nearby. It looks rather desolate, standing all alone. Han Li and Manager Feng got out of the car one after the other. "This is the place. I'll go in first to check if those scary things have been tidied up for you, young master." Manager Feng wore a smile on his face, and hurriedly stepped forward to push the door open. But just then, a faint voice suddenly came from behind. "Are you planning to sneak into the front room and let the three people inside take me down?" Manager Feng was greatly shocked upon hearing this. Without thinking much, he dashed forward, pushing the door in front of him with all his might, ready to rush into the courtyard that was so close. But at that moment, a red line flashed past the back of Manager Feng's head, a strange hidden line that vanished in an instant. Suddenly, flames erupted from Manager Feng's body, and in the blink of an eye, he was gone. The hunchbacked old man sitting in the car nearby saw Han Li's movements and, without a second thought, shouted to take action. He then raised his hand, and a green flying knife shot out like a streak of light, slicing through the air. At the same time, meanwhile, it originally seemed quiet and deserted. Suddenly, a thick yellow mist surged up from the ground. It spread throughout the entire courtyard. Then, from the yellow mist, a dark flying fork shot out, along with two fiery red long spears. They all attacked Han Li together. Han Li let out a cold laugh. With a gentle flick of his embroidered robe towards the incoming crimson blades, a stream of azure mist flew out from his sleeve. It instantly enveloped the blade's light. It disappeared into the mist. Then, after a swirl, it flew back into his sleeve. Meanwhile, his other arm casually reached out towards the 3 incoming spiritual weapons, grabbing at the empty air. A cute glowing hand appeared. With a strange, swift motion, it snatched down the flying fork, the long spears, and all the magical tools into his grasp, rendering them completely immobile. The yellow mist immediately erupted with shocked gasps. The hunchbacked old man, upon seeing this, turned pale. His opponent had effortlessly saved himself, collecting their magical tools. What did this represent? He certainly knew. Without a moment's thought, the old man clapped his hands, and a faintly glowing talisman appeared in his grasp. Gritting his teeth, he spat a mouthful of vital blood onto the talisman. He bit his teeth and spat a mouthful of essence blood onto the lucky charm. This fortune and blessing transformed into a mass of blood clouds. It enveloped the old man within. It shot away through the air. In an instant, it wrapped around the old man. It reached the area outside the stone camp. The reactions in the yellow mist were equally swift. 3 orbs of different colors of light shot out from within. Then they scattered in a rush. They fled in all directions. Han Li's expression darkened. He flicked his fingers at the 3 who had just arrived. 3 sword energies struck down. The 3 people fled far from the tree camp. They were overwhelmed by the force and lost sight of everything. 3 screams echoed out as they saw the light. Several drops of blood rained down from nowhere. The stench of blood rose sharply. The hunchbacked old man turned back in the blood mist. Seeing this scene, he was so scared that his soul nearly left his body. He immediately disregarded the consequences and infused all his energy into himself. In the blood mist, he suddenly became 3 times faster. He was about to fly out into a street. Outside the camp, he didn't dare hope that he could truly shake off Han Li's pursuit. As long as he could run to a place crowded with mortals, the other party is clearly wary and hesitant to act. This might just help him keep his life for now. But Han Li, who hasn't moved an inch, lets out a cold laugh. He looks at the bloodstains fading into the distance. With a gentle flick, he stops the attack that was meant to kill. After the blood mist, Manager Feng is now suddenly revealed by the abbotsu from afar. Then, a flash of red light appears. It pierces through the blood mist. After a wail, the blood mist disperses. The hunchbacked old man falls directly from the sky. Following that, a greenish hand dashes forward like a ghost and stops. It throws the 3 sword energies aside and catches the old man in its grasp. After a spin, it flies towards Han Li. The red line then sways in the air, silently vanishing without a trace. It concealed its whereabouts, but in the next moment, it reappears right in front of Han Li. Han Li raises his hand, and it slowly lands in his palm. It's a golden flying needle about an inch long. The needle is crystal clear. The red light emanating from its surface fluctuates in intensity, which is quite eerie. He glanced at the flying needle in his hand. A satisfied expression appeared on his face. He used the golden talk waste pill. He had put in quite a bit of effort to refine this flying needle. Its power really seems impressive. At the very least, its speed and stealth effectiveness met expectations. Moreover, it is a magical artifact. With a bit of practice, its power could be further enhanced. The flying needle vanished from his palm, absorbed into his body. Then he raised his hand to look at the hunchbacked old man, who was pulled back by the light hand. The old man's face was expressionless. At this moment, a thumb-sized hole had been pierced through the old man's abdomen. Most of his body was firmly grasped by the light hand, making it impossible for him to move. His face was completely devoid of color. At this moment, seeing Han Li looking over, the old man forced a smile, his mouth showing a hint of a crocodile's color, quickly trying to appease. This is all a misunderstanding. Senior, with such abilities, you definitely aren't the person we were looking for. I must have mistaken the person. Senior, please forgive me. I must have mistaken the person. Senior, please forgive me. Don't hold it against me. I am from the Kong family of Guaning. If you have any questions, I will answer them all. The old man seemed to realize his fate was dire, and hurriedly blurted out a lot of words, hoping that one of them would move the other party and spare his life. But at that moment, Han Li raised his hand. A shot hit the old man. The old man's pleas for mercy abruptly stopped. His eyes instantly became vacant and dazed. There's no need to trouble yourself so much, Han. For things I want to know, it's better for me to investigate myself. He whispered softly, tears in his eyes. With a flick of his hand, he summoned the few spiritual items on the ground. He drew them into his grasp. Then he turned and walked into the courtyard. A youthful hand gripped the old man tightly. Following Han, they floated into the courtyard. I hope. There was a very simple illusion set up here. The barrier prevented Han from entering the wilds. After casually casting a few spells, he managed to break the formation. Then he took the old man into one of the rooms. After a meal, Han casually conjured a fireball, turning the old man on the ground to ashes. He vanished from this world without a trace. Then he sat down on a wooden chair in the room. Resting his chin on one hand, he fell into contemplation. Just now, he used the eye technique. Without needing to worry about the other's mental state, he almost emptied everything the old man knew. This hunchback old man, just as he had mentioned earlier, was responsible for the Kong family's affairs in the capital. This person is quite capable. That shopkeeper from the Feng family, 2 years ago, because of a small matter, he was found by this person. After a round of threats, he had no choice but to submit to the Kong family. After all, how could a mere mortal dare to oppose a cultivator? This time, Han Li used the jade pendant of love and desire to approach the shopkeeper Feng. Naturally, he was sold out to a few old men. They wanted to achieve a great feat with this. But when the old man heard, it turned out to be the eldest son of the Feng family, whom the family had been searching for a long time. Naturally, he was overjoyed and wouldn't let this opportunity slip away. He immediately set a trap, and personally prepared to ambush this love and desire. However, as soon as Han Li revealed the 9 dragons, he saw through the old man's lowly pity at a glance. There was a problem with Feng Changhui's heart, but he certainly wouldn't fear a mere foundation establishment cultivator. What are you afraid of? But in the tavern, there were many ordinary people. It was also inconvenient to act directly, so he took the opportunity to investigate further. He arrived here by carriage. As a result, the old man and the few ambushers were caught off guard. They were easily taken down. Like a few ants, they were swiftly eliminated by him. Regarding these matters, Han Li was completely unconcerned. He had already had a faint suspicion about this. Otherwise, if they were really coming for him, it would have been a joke to ambush here. However, Han Li was greatly surprised by another matter, discovered from the hunchbacked old man. It turned out that the alliance of the 3 families had just concluded. The king's conference. The old ancestor of the Kong family had suddenly erupted, having been possessed after his primordial spirit was devoured. At that time, the heads of the other 2 families had united a group of high-level cultivators they had invited from behind. They directly killed the possessed old man of the Kong family, on the spot, without even allowing his primordial spirit to escape. As a result, the Kong family's strength was greatly diminished, instantly dropping from the top 3 to the bottom. As a result, the Kong family suffered a significant loss of power, suddenly dropping from being one of the top 3 families to the bottom. But just then, they realized the back of their subordinates. The Blood King, who had been hidden deep in the Zuling Mountains, suddenly became furious, and directly brought the ancient tomb to the surface, releasing thousands of undead, with the cultivation level of tomb guardians, boldly setting up a ghost town of the underworld, emerging from the mountains. As a result, the 3 families and those high-level cultivators who assisted, engaged in a fierce battle with the 3 masters in the ancient tomb. They certainly eliminated quite a few of the undead, but the earth-level cultivators from the 3 families were also devoured by the ghost town in large numbers. As for several cultivators and their reasons, they also didn't gain any advantage against the 3 masters of the ancient tomb and ghost town. Even after the confrontation, one of them was severely injured due to a moment of negligence. As a result, the 3 families and these sect cultivators were completely trapped in the ghost town that stretched for hundreds of miles. On the mountain where the king's assembly was to be held, they could only rely on the earlier arranged, scary formations on the mountaintop to barely protect themselves. In fact, this was also due to those sect cultivators underestimating the old demon's capabilities. They thought this demon had just been severely injured, unexpectedly injuring the Blood King. He somewhat underestimated the old demon's capabilities. He initially thought this demon was heavily injured. It should be easy to deal with, but unexpectedly, there was only one reason: the Blood King of the mid-stage cultivation. With the ancient tomb as a support, he immediately displayed a power almost equivalent to that of the late-stage cultivation. It was as if he had transformed into 2 different people. The other 2 masters also had early-stage cultivation. After just one encounter, someone suffered a huge loss. The spoils lost. There's really nothing more to say about that. The dazzling Wild King is indeed powerful, but making such a huge commotion, It trapped these cultivators. After breaking out, it finally alarmed a nearby sect. A late-stage cultivator rushed over, unleashing a shocking divine power. He instantly repelled the 3 corpses, forcing them to retreat back into the depths of the snow forest mountains. This late-stage cultivator had no intention of pursuing them and just floated away. After the 3 cultivators were saved, they certainly didn't dare to linger nearby. They withdrew all their forces from the mountains. The Blood Jade King of the neighboring province is making a comeback, and the 3 masters also fear that late-stage cultivator. The scholar also intervened in this matter, and naturally, he didn't dare to easily come out of retirement. The conflict thus came to a halt. Of course, Han Li knows this. It's just part of what the elder should know. But Han Li recalls that day, when she quietly cried her heart out after leaving the Feng family. She encountered the Blood King, who was severely injured. She could guess most of the story. She couldn't help but marvel for a moment. This Blood King is really too fierce. On that day, during the battle in the Snow Forest Mountains, he had already returned to the tomb with serious injuries. In such a short time, he managed to create such a big incident again. He looks like he's fully recovered, but who knows how many miraculous pills he must have taken. It's clear as day that there can't be any elixir in this world that can restore someone's vitality so quickly. Even if he has plenty of pills, he still hasn't regained his peak cultivation. There's only one possibility: that old monster's body is incredibly strong, or the cultivation method he practices has some unique ability that allows for such an astonishing recovery speed. Speaking of the Lion King's abilities, Han and I couldn't help but think of that thing within her body. I couldn't help but think of that thing inside her body, the angel pig inside. While cultivating the title of the Underworld Duke, he had already experienced the miraculous effects of this pig. Otherwise, relying solely on that sword's indestructibility, whether he could reach the 2nd level of the Underworld Duke is still a matter of uncertainty. This pig has such remarkable effects. Perhaps that Blood King's rapid vitality entering the mansion is somehow related to this pig. Han Li quietly pondered after the lightning transformation and set this matter aside. He began to think about his plans to enter the capital. No need to mention where he would stay. Since this residence is related to Manager Feng, he couldn't stay here for long. Otherwise, if this person goes missing, naturally, someone would trace back here after a few days. That could lead to some trouble. It's better to find a random Taoist temple or monastery and rent a place for a while. These places are relatively quiet, much better than an inn. Additionally, he needs to gather information about the local cultivation methods for the auction. Regarding some details, Han Li quickly calculated everything in his mind and immediately floated away from this residence, disappearing without a trace. Han Li spent some time. Finally in the city, I found an obscure little path. A Taoist from Guanzhong to Guanzhong. They are all true mortals. They have no magical power at all. Han Li was very pleased with this. He immediately gave Zi Yinzi a donation. This moved the official, so he sponsored it. He stayed in the jar for a night. Early the next morning, Han Li set out from the Taoist crown. He headed straight for a decorated academy he discovered during the day. Since this academy could open in a place like the capital, and it didn't seem small, it must have some background and a connection to the Confucian school. However, Han Li didn't care about this at all. When he quietly sneaked into the academy, his figure appeared before an elderly Confucian scholar with white hair. He released a powerful aura without any concealment. The aura was as strong as when he first appeared. Han Li was taken aback. He hurriedly focused all his energy. But as soon as he saw Han Li's true cultivation level, the old scholar relaxed and dropped his guard. He stepped forward respectfully, addressing Han Li as, "Senior, welcome to the academy. Is there anything I can assist you with?" Respectfully, she addressed Han Li, the physician. "Senior, have you come to the academy? Is there something you need my assistance with? You should go ahead. I actually have a few small matters to discuss with you. There are several ways to get to Beijing, the locations and some details about the auction. Let's get it all out. You locals should know this best. You should be the most informed about it." Han Li smiled slightly. He said leisurely, "There's no problem with the methods and locations. I'll copy the entire map into the pre-check right away. As for the auction details, I don't know much either. What does the senior want to know?" The elderly scholar replied without any hesitation. He took out a white jade piece from his storage bag. He began to infuse it with the relevant maps. The maps of the locations, the specific time and place of the auction, and whether there are any rare materials for sale at this auction. Han Li's smile faded. He asked calmly. The time and place are fine. It's in 9 days. At the Bagwang shop in the western part. It's divided into 2 sessions. The reason is that the 2 levels of auctions are held at different times. Among them, the first session is for the basic items. The reason for holding the 2 level auctions at different times. Among them, the vowel period is modified. You can participate in the auction at the cutoff level. The order period is modified, but you can't enter the original sound level auction. As for what materials are for sale, it's really hard for me to answer. After all, such a large auction is jointly held by the largest few organizations in Daijin. It's difficult for outsiders to know what items are for sale. However, based on past experience, the rare and exotic materials that appear at the auction will at least be displayed as ornaments. Additionally, some seniors will also temporarily bring their rare items to the auction for bidding. This auction generally lasts for about 5 to 6 days. Lao Yu should honestly return to the Bagwang Hall. Han Li felt a bit regretful and murmured to herself, "Senior, the pre-check has been copied. Please keep it safe, Senior." At this moment, Lao Yu finally finished refining the jade scissors and handed them over to Han Li with both hands. Han Li silently reached out and took the jade scissors. After inspecting it with the divine stone, a satisfied nod appeared on her face. "Very good. Regarding what I've seen today, don't mention it to anyone else. Don't mention it to anyone else. Otherwise, a dark smile with tears would appear. A blue light flickered on his body. He suddenly vanished from the spot again. An old man's eyes twitched. He sat down in the chair. He furrowed his brow and began to ponder. After quite a while, then, he swept through the room with the divine stone. The result was nothing but emptiness. It seemed he truly cared about others. The old man finally let out a sigh of relief. A faint bitter smile appeared on his face. After Han Li left the academy, he carefully examined the jade slip. Then he headed straight for the Jinxie method. The so-called Jinxie method is actually a sophisticated concealment array that has hidden a small area of a remote street in the western part of the capital for years. Han Li appeared at the entrance of the method, passing through effortlessly. An invisible barrier, undetectable by mortals, silently manifested on a slightly cold, slanted street. Of course, this quietness was only relative to the bustling mortals outside. At a glance, there were at least hundreds of cultivators coming in and out of the shops on both sides. Han Li carefully scanned the entire street. She knew that on the day of the auction, this Jinxie style would definitely have its merits. The level of embellishment speaks for itself. Otherwise, such a large auction wouldn't be so easy to organize. With these thoughts in mind, Han Li walked slowly, her gaze continuously sweeping from side to side. This Jinxie style was clearly a bit different from what she had seen in the southern regions. On both sides of the street, there were almost entirely those tall buildings of 2 or 3 stories, as if every wealthy merchant was running a significant business. However, some of the names of the buildings Han Li had indeed seen in other styles. It seems that some powerful merchants in the Great Jin cultivation world would set up branches here. Since that's the case, there was no need for careful identification. Han Li carried with her a list of several materials she needed to collect, and immediately began to inquire at each shop. But until now, she still hadn't gotten her hands on anything. Naturally, she cherished every item. Finding a confidant is not that easy. Han Li had no ulterior motives. It's easy to find the materials needed. It was just a matter of convenience. It seems like the method. Actually, there's something important to do. Participating in the auction definitely requires a lot of snacks. Han Liuan does have quite a few snacks on her, but after the transformation and disguise, while collecting other materials, she has already spent most of them. Now, facing such a large auction, the snacks she has left are naturally not enough. Han Mishi plans to find a large shop to sell some rare items in exchange for some snacks to use.